Hello and welcome to my channel. Say hi to a happy day. In this channel, I would like to share tales and stories I personally picked and are my kids' favorite book stories. Let's enjoy listening while I read to you Once Upon a Parable, timeless stories about God's kingdom, a rich fool. Antonio said a quick prayer. Then he stepped through the doorway and saw his master seated at his counting table. He was inspecting a coin in the candles' light, the only light in the room. "Master, you sent for me?" Antonio announced. The man looked up. The paleness of his face worried Antonio. He wondered if his master was ill. "Young man," his master said gravely, "I have a request." Antonio nodded. "Certainly, sir." "Come closer," his master ordered. "Of course, sir." Antonio stepped near. As usual, the room was crowded with accounting books, business papers, and money. His master rarely stopped working long enough to straighten anything. "Antonio," he said, "you've always been faithful to me and most wise. I trust you above all others." Antonio smiled. He had heard these words many times. His master always paused after speaking them, waiting for Antonio's response. "Thank you, sir," he answered. His master laid the coin on the open pages of the ledger book at his side and gazed into the candles' flame. "Antonio, Antonio, I've been thinking very hard." Here were words Antonio had never heard from his master's lips. He leaned forward. "As you know," his master said, "my business has prospered magnificently this year. I earned more than I thought possible. Yes, I know I worked harder than ever, that's true, but never has my labor been so fruitful. Truly, I am rich today beyond my dearest dreams. I'm surrounded by money, and I don't know what to do with it at all." His eyes glistened in the candlelight. Did Antonio see tears? A spark of hope flickered in his heart. Were his prayers for his master being answered? Would he finally stop keeping all this money to himself? Would he begin caring for the poor, for the sick and needy who filled the city in these troubled times? Would he help them get better clothes and better houses and food and Bibles and books as well? There was so much his master could do. "Yes, loyal Antonio," his master continued. "I've been thinking deeply, and this is what I've decided. I will build my own bank. Its doors will be silver. The floors and walls will be marble. And it will have a golden roof. So beautiful it makes me cry to think of it. I'll keep all my money there, and I'll stop working. I don't need a single penny anymore. I'll simply enjoy the riches I have. Day after day I'll be happy, and year after year after year. And this is my request, Antonio. Will you be in charge of building my bank and storing my riches? For the rest of my years, I want no one but you to handle my money. Will you do this, wise Antonio, for me? Antonio could only blink. He swallowed hard. He searched his mind and heart for the right answer. "Sir," he began. "Sir." Now, Antonio," said his master. "Such a job is a high honor and privilege, and no doubt you feel unworthy. Yet I insist that you have it. You've always been faithful and wise, and I have no family, and I trust you above all others. But we'll talk more tomorrow. I don't feel well, and I have much work this evening before I rest." His master turned to his open ledger book and picked up the coin lying there. "Antonio, do you know why coins are flat?" he asked. Silently, Antonio shook his head. His master smiled. "So we can stack them and store them and keep them." He picked up a pen and began his work, and marking carefully in his ledger book, "Good night," he said without looking up. Antonio trudged to his quarters. He fell asleep that night praying for his master's soul. A knock at his door awakened him, and shout from another servant, "Antonio, the master has taken ill and dead." In the darkness, Antonio shuddered. 3 days later, the body was buried. Antonio wept beside his master's grave. There he kneeled and read aloud these words of Jesus. "A rich man's land yielded an abundant crop. So he asked himself, 'What should I do? I've run out of room to store my crops.' So he said, 'I'll do this. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. That's where I'll store all my produce and possessions. And I'll tell myself, you've stored enough away to last you many years. So take it easy. Eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is to be taken from you, and then who will enjoy the things you have hoarded? That is how it will be for everyone who hoards treasure for himself, but isn't rich toward God.' As for the money left behind by Antonius's master, the judges of that city met together to consider what to do. Knowing Antonio to be a godly and loyal servant to the man, they placed him in charge of all his master's riches. From that moment on, Antonio was always bestowing money and gifts on the poor throughout the city. And he often said, "Do you know why a coin is round? So you can roll it onto someone else and give it away." The end. I hope you enjoy listening to the story of Once Upon a Parable, timeless stories about God's kingdom, a rich fool. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to listen to more of our favorite book stories. See you soon.